So I'm Aaron. I'm 33 years old, and I'm a faithful believer in Jesus Christ. And let's see. So, as you heard, yeah, I went through the programs. For me personally, I had to get structure. Like I needed somewhere to go. Like I've seen people do it outside, and do it in the AA and everything. For me personally, I couldn't do it. Like I had no self control. I started doing good for a little bit, and then next thing you know, I get some money in my pocket, and I start talking to girls, and then next thing you know, boom, just back on the wagon again. So I'm originally from San Jose, California. I grew up with a single mom. I actually, let's see, so it's just my sister and me growing up. And my dad was nowhere to be found. He didn't even know I was alive. I didn't even know him until like 13. And unfortunately, my mom did the best she could. She's Hispanic. Believe it or not, I have Hispanic in me. And I know, right? Um, anyways, I may sweat. Sorry. Anyways, so my mom, she did the best she could with what we had. We grew up kind of in poverty. My mom had met a new man in her life, and since my father was absent, she had put me in like a mentor program. It was called Plus One Mentors. And so I had like a big brother, you know what I mean, kind of growing up. And she did that just so I would stay out of trouble. Well, that didn't work, right? Like at all. Um, so I hung out with my friends. Home wasn't very homey because of the new man in the life, right? So after my mom had split up with my sister's father growing up, she met that guy, and next thing you know, like we're moving up to Redding, California, and so Redding was a culture change for me. It was very country, and redneck, you can say, and a lot of motorcycles, around, and so anyways, all my friends and like in that area, like they were all knuckleheads, you know what I mean? So what did we do best? We got in trouble. Like that's what we did. We went and go drink, we went party, and I just kept partying, you know what I mean? I was young. I just loved like the effect. I love the effect of getting like messed up, you know what I mean? Like drinking. I was a blackout drinker starting, so like I wouldn't remember anything. People tell me, "Oh, you did this last night." I'm like, "No, I don't remember." You know what I mean? Like, doesn't count. You know what I mean? And so like, anyways, like next thing you know, like, we started experimenting with harder drugs. Cocaine. Cocaine was cool for a minute, but honestly, it was more meth. Meth was like once I tried meth, like it was like hey, this lasts forever, right? Like, who wants to go to sleep? You know what I mean? So, oh, thank you, brother. I knew I was going to bring the rag too. Like, maybe I'll do good. Thought about wearing a hat. I was like, nah, just be transparent, right? Anyways, so we started, doing more drugs. I remember my first night tweaking. I just hated the next day. Like that was horrible, man. And but like so it'd be like 6 months till I tried it again, and then I do it again, and then next thing you know, like another 6 months go by, and like because I seen like what it did to people, and so like I didn't want that rep, you know what I mean? And I had a pretty good rep as it was. Like I just really smoked weed, I drank, I didn't really like hang out with that crowd because that crowd's shady, you know what I mean? So we're like, yeah, I'm a better drug addict than you, 'cause I don't do meth, you know what I mean? But I'm over here like, doing doing the same thing, you know what I mean, behind the closet, like, and then so anyways, like um, we end up like partying a lot, as I was saying, in high school, and my friends, one of my friends, the older kids, it was cool to hang out with an older guy, you know what I mean, like the older homie, and he was like up to no good, he'd drive around in his Jeep and break into vehicles, and it's like Christmas, you never knew what you're gonna get, you know what I mean? So we're like, all right, we're gonna go steal some shit tonight, and so like so we go out, we go robbing cars, and it was fun for the night. Fortunately, our luck wasn't that great though. So what happened was and it's funny, right? Out of all streets to get freaking like hit up on, It was called Memory Lane. Like, come on, seriously? Like, Memory Lane, really? Yeah, I remember that night for sure. You know, freaking cops freaking, booting my neck, like treating us like, I remember telling them too, like these glasses I stole, right? I stole these Von Zipper glasses out of the car and I had them on my head thinking I'm all cool, and they fell off and I'm like, hey man, don't get my glasses. And he's like, screw your glasses, boom, and he just kicks them. I'm like, oh, really? Like, I didn't think at the time, like, hey, I was like just committing, burglary. And this guy, of course, he's going to treat me like crap, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm over here like offended because of my glasses, right? Not even my glasses. So, anyways, we end up going to jail, and they take us into this interrogation room. And next thing you know, like everybody's like, oh, I ain't saying nothing, you know what I mean? And like, so then they come pressure us like, hey, your buddy gave you up, and like they're trying the old, technique on us. And I'm like, they're saying they're pinning everything on me and all this stuff. I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. I stole some stuff. Yeah, let's do it. So I end up going to jail or doing juvenile hall, and then that was the beginning of a nice little extent of criminal activity, you can say. And I was probably like 15 when that happened, and so the next 2 years were pretty wild, like really wild. And so after that, like we kept doing the drugs, you know what I mean? The drugs came around, but I stayed away from the meth for a little bit. Like I didn't really like get into it too much. I was more drinking, I was more partying. Unfortunately, because of that whole little rap sheet I got, and like residential burglaries I got later, and Grand Theft Autos, and all that fun stuff. I had to be in like a juvenile probation court, school. Like literally probation was like right here, and my school was right here. Like that was how much they trusted us, And so next thing you know, like we get drug tested, and we all knew because we're on this drug court. It was juvenile drug court. If you guys know like AOP is, it's like basically that for child. And so we're on that. And like, if you do good, you'll get your charges dismissed and whatnot. And I never finished, unfortunately. And so, but anyways, I end up getting into another crazy situation at 17, and the date was 7/7/07, right? And so, what a day, right? Exactly. And that day falls into another incident in my life that I'll tell you shortly. So I end up stealing my mentor. That mentor I told you about. I stole his car, right? I broke into his house. I stole his car, drunk as can be, right? And I'm thinking, oh, he's gone for the night. I'm just going to borrow the car, no harm there, right? So we go out, crash the car, like completely totaled it, right? It was an Audi, like A4, it was like 2008 model, like super cool. Had the, slap shifters. We're thinking we're cool. I'm flying. I'm surprised I didn't kill anybody, you know what I mean? But I did hit a parked F1 or F350 about 100 miles per hour in a residential, and it did like a 540 spin. We caught on fire. Luckily, they pulled us out, and like I remember, like they were trying to pull me out of the car, and they're like, dude, my foot was stuck in underneath the gas pedal, and like it's like on fire, and they're tripping out. They're like trying to cut like things around us to get us out, and it sucked because one of my friends actually, he actually got a torn intestine, right? And so now I'm getting attempted manslaughter for my buddy, right? And all because we're just out doing whatever, having fun, right? Well, that consequence put me in juvenile hall again, and I was facing being charged as an adult, going to CYA and all that fun stuff ahead, right? And so next day I woke up, I had seatbelt marks all over me, just like it's like I'm surprised I didn't have anything torn inside. For some reason, like I was good. I was just really beat up. My friend, they didn't know if he was gonna like make it or not because unfortunately, like they're trying to like his intestines were torn, and like it was pretty bad. So I'm and I don't know about you guys, but when I get in trouble, like I get really remorseful. You know what I mean? Like I fight like, oh man, woe is me. You know what I mean? Like I knew better, and so I was kicking my butt pretty hard, in jail or in juvie. And so they had us locked down. I was in the special unit for, kids that like were injured and whatnot. And so I'm down there and I'm hearing my thing on the radio in the morning and I'm like, oh, wow, like it's that big, you know what I mean? And so I end up somehow, my mentor, like, he came to court and what happened was he didn't press charges against me. I ended up like getting this deal, a sweet deal, right? I went to a boys ranch, and that's like basically a fire camp for juveniles, right? And so I got to do that. I did like a year in there, and then a year, again, right? And so that was my conditions. So I got out. My mom didn't really want anything to do with me at that point, But so I went and lived with like my friend's grandma, and like I thought I was going to do good, but I still like, I don't know what it was, like being locked up and not really doing anything. Like a lot of my juvenile years, like partying, like just like still like it was inside me hard, I felt like I missed out a lot. I felt like everybody, like one of my biggest fears was like starting late in life, like and watching all my friends, have things and get houses and all this stuff, and here I am trying to, not drink or like, just keep it simple, you know what I mean? Like, and my meth addiction didn't even kick in yet. So like, this is all, upcoming to it. Right. And so, I already got it, a good little rap sheet there. I got DUIs, by the time I'm 21, I had 3 DUIs. Let's see, but I stopped the stealing, which was good. Something about going to camp and all that stuff made me like, hey, I'm not gonna steal no more. But then I started robbing crops though. Like, so I did steal, weed crops for a little bit, not gonna lie. But then I had my own weed crop, and I was like, all right, I know how hard that work is. I'm not gonna rob anybody's stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so like it was kind of good to like experience that because I understand, the culture, right? And so, and that was another thing too. Like I was like, oh man, I'm gonna do good. I'm just gonna grow weed for the rest of my life. This is wonderful, easy money. You know what I mean? So, and my buddy had acres, so we're up there. We're growing, right? And so we did that for a couple seasons, and it's like the next thing you know, it's the next season. I had left a program I was supposed to complete, right, because I had DUIs, and I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go, and I want that money. I'll figure out the court stuff later, and so I leave, and it was only like two weeks. Like I went home to my mom. It was just another 2 weeks. Like it wasn't nothing special. I wasn't like extremely like helpful around the house. I was just kind of like I even like asked my mom for a ride on the 4th of July, right? So the 4th of July is popping up, and so I'm like, it's like getting dark and her eyes are getting bad. She can't really like drive at night, but I'm selfish and I want, what I want. And so therefore I asked her for a ride to take me up to my buddy so I can go party. Like, that's it. I'm going to go party, and then I'm going to go up to the mountain the next day, and I'm going to start my season. Right. And so that's what I told her. She knew that. She's just like, whatever, as long as you're out of the house. I go, fine. So she drives, and I remember her complaining, kind of, I can't see, and the lights are hurting her eyes. And I say all this stuff in description because after that, like literally within that week, I came back down to town, and my phone was off, and I went to charge it and stuff, and to pick up some clothes for my mom, and I couldn't get a hold of her, And the next thing you know, my phone finally blows up, and it's my sister telling me, "Hey, mom's dead," and like so, like yeah, so all that, all of that stuff, being the ungrateful son and, just, selfish, all of it like started hitting me like hard. And so that's like, I guess like right then and there is where like my life was like, whatever at this point, like I really didn't know my family too well. And so like my mom was my world, I was definitely a mama's boy. And when she was gone, it was literally like, my world had been removed. The only actual person I loved in this world was gone, and that was tough. It was tough to swallow. And so, what did I do best? Well, drugs, right? And so I dove into meth for like the first real time, like actually getting into it. So it was like a 3-month cycle of from smoking it to snorting it and then to shooting it, right? And like it just, I wasn't getting high anymore, and once I hit that needle, it was over, and And I thought I found I was like, man, I've been wasting this stuff all this time, you know, like freaking needle. Come on, man. Like, this is the way to go, you know? And so I was very much an IV user from there on out. And that was it. And everything that came along with it, you know, is kind of a bit of history. But after that, like I stopped going to jail. But I ended up like just really just diving into my mess hard. Like it's so bad to the point where like I became crippled, right? Like I literally became crippled. Like there's moments like I would wander to my friend's house at night. Just I like for some reason I like walking around at night, like high. I don't know what it was. It was just the quietness or something, the fresh air on the skin, you know what I mean? And like just like I don't know what was so great about it, but I loved it, right? So I would walk just to walk. I'm like, I'm going for a walk. Later, you know what I mean? Gone, right? And like I don't know when I'd come back, right? And and it sucked because my stepsister, she's seen me go through this, and she's like she has a mental disability as well, right? And so she like I can only imagine what I put her through along lines of like you know my own addiction, right? Like I didn't think about how I affected anybody else in my life because it was just me, you know what I mean? And so she watched me literally like become homeless a couple times, you know, because of drugs and all of that, and then try to get back up and then fall again and then get back up and fall again, you know what I mean? And like the whole thing, like I wasn't done, you know what I mean? I just wasn't done. Even when I came here when I was younger, I wasn't done, right? Like I thought I was done, but I wasn't like at all. I still had so much more misery to go through, you know? And I'm glad I went through it because it helped me become done, right? Like that's like what ultimately the goal is, right? Is to be done, right? And so I had to go through more pain. Like that's it. No pain, no gain. That's it. You know what I mean? Like you need to go through. You need to be hurt. You need to lose everything. People need to die. You need to nearly die, and so on, right? Like, and that's what happened. I've had overdoses. Still like ungrateful. Why I'm still alive, don't know, right? But car crashes, you know, overdoses and whatnot. I'm still standing. I've had from growing up also because knowing who my dad was in a motorcycle gang, I chased that life also, right? And so I became, you know, heavy a part of that a little bit. And to the point until once again, drugs took me away from it, right? Because I became what? Unuseful, right? I became crippled. I cared more about the drug than anything else, right? And so it sucked because like a lot of the brothers were like, dude, just do it like a little bit. And I'm like, okay, full blown, just like keep going, right? Like I'm just like I can't stop. Like I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. And another thing, I didn't want somebody telling me what to do or how to do it, right? Like I hate authority. I hate being told what to do. I am my own person and I want to do things my way, right? Like that's it. And so I take suggestions a few times, but you know, eventually, like it's not ultimately my choice, right? Like it has to be my choice, my desire to actually want it, right? And that's what it took. So another 5 years of just imagine that, just intensified more, right? I'm 2 states away. I'm strung out, you know. I'm on my motorcycle, and I'm like, I'm looking at my life again, and I'm 30 at this point, you know. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing, Aaron? You know what I mean? Like, you need to grow up for real. Like, just grow up. Like, I got to the point where I couldn't blame anybody else for my decision making. You know what I mean? Like nobody made me put the needle in my arm. Nobody made me go talk to that guy at work and go get the drug. Nobody made me do any of that. You know what I mean? I did that, and I didn't need like you to influence me because I can influence myself very well. I don't need your help at all, right? Like I'll probably influence you. You know what I mean? And so like the thing is like the whole sex addiction, all behind it, like that was hard. That was like I remember I thought like after I was done doing drugs, I would never have like good sex again in my life. You know what I mean? Like straight up, it ruined it for me. Lost sex drive, everything. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh man. And then let alone you know those creepy nights we have where we're all locked down, you know, doing you know what behind the door and like for hours. we all kind of been there. You know what I mean? And like you look at yourself and the shame and the guilt and the you know everything you hold on yourself, it's just like it's just not worth it. It's just true evil, that drug, man. Like I started losing my morals. I started becoming everything I despised. People like if I looked at me when I was almost done, I would have knocked that dude out when I was younger, like straight up. I would have put on work on myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that dude is a piece of crap, you know? But it wasn't always a piece of crap. It just took a lot of crap to make him that way, right? And that's eventually, that is what the drug lifestyle does. And so, like I said, I was in 2 states away. I'm sitting here thinking, what am I going to do? I've been to this dream center before, but I always, when I left, if I always thought like, hey, like that place will work if I actually try, right? And I remember coming back into my hometown up in Gilroy, San Jose area, all that, right? And people know I'm in town, and it's not really good for me, like because of like rivalry and whatnot. And so like I'm getting circled up. People are like plotting, to get me. I got a nice little target on my head, and I'm like, dude, like just trust God, right? Like I'm literally like just trust God right now. Like like I don't know what to do. I'm not even like I got a 9 on me. That's it. You know what I mean? Like these fools are running deep on me, and I'm tripping, right? But I'm like, just trust God. Just make it through the night. And for some reason, like just that, it just stuck. It just told me, be still and trust God. Be still and trust God. That's it. And like, because I knew if I went out, I was gonna die. Like that was it. Like if I went outside, I was gonna die. So I locked it down, and then I just waited, and I just I waited for somebody to come in, and nobody came in. Like it was the craziest thing, right? And then I'm like, wait, was I tripping? You know what I mean? Everything's good in the daytime now. It's not nighttime. Operation hours are over, buddies. I can walk freely now. And that's the thinking you have, like, because there is like a kind of a sense of a code. You can't really do things at certain hours and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys know anything about anything, then like, there is ways of operating. And so like you'd walk the main streets, or don't take the alleys, or don't take shortcuts in my neighborhoods, or basically be somewhere where a camera's on you, or wherever, always have an eye on you, because then they know they can't get you. And that was how I started operating. And so when I decided, hey, I want to change, right? So anyways, I end up fleeing back up to Washington, right? And I'm up there, and I start over, and I'm like, okay, I get in because of my, my father's name and whatnot. I get into a sober living type situation ran by, the club. And next thing you know, I'm there. I'm doing okay for a little bit, you know what I mean? And then I met a guy at work again, and here we are shooting up one more time, And and it sucked because the meth use, like wasn't long, like during like long binges or nothing. It got shorter and just more miserable. Like it wasn't fulfilling me like it used to. I couldn't itch the itch like I wanted to. I couldn't go have sex like I wanted to. You know what I mean? I didn't like. It was just like I was holding on to this fantasy of what it used to be like, and yet I wasn't actually fulfilling it anymore. You know what I mean? And so after all that, I'm like, I'm gonna go. Like I shit you not, guys. I say this to God, and I'm on my bike, and I'm like, God, I think I want to go back to Dream Center, right? And yeah, and so when I said that, I felt it, like I felt peace, right? And it was confirmation from the Spirit. I knew it, and God's like, go, you know what I mean? Just go. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go, And let alone, like, I have a case already up there, right, for like a DUI situation, and I had to do like an outpatient program for them for 2 years, right? So technically, I'm like, no, I'm kind of Washington's property, but I don't care, right? I'm leaving, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not locked up, so I'm out of here, And so I leave, and on the way down here, I got hit on my bike, right? Yeah, I know, you want to change, and all of a sudden, who knows, the devil stops you, right? And so I get hit on my bike, I do a flip, boom, my bike gets kind of totaled, and so I'm like, wow, like, what do I do now? Like, how am I going to get down there? Well, I'm still determined at this point, and I just got my last check from my boss that I was working for. So that's going to help me get down to California, and I'm going to party on the way down here, right? Because that's how we do it. You know what I mean? Like going one more time, come on, let's really show them this time. I can do this, and so I end up. I ended up going down and getting on my buddy I paid him to drive me to California basically. And so then we get in California, I get back into my hometown where I kind of get established with people. One of my exes actually helped me get a bus ticket because I didn't have my phone. I lost my phone, which was a really good thing at that time for me. Because if I had my phone, I would have had contacts, and I probably would have been in the area a little longer, and I probably would have never made it, straight up, So I get this Greyhound bus, and it's crazy because some of the brothers weren't too sure if I was really going to a program or not, right? And so I kind of got tailed a little bit on the way down here, and literally almost all the way to the front door here. And so, anyways, I end up seeing one of my brothers, and he's like, "Hey, you're gonna do this thing, or that's it." You know what I mean? And don't come back. Don't come back up here or anything, unless you're really serious about this. And so I'm like, okay. So I kind of got the okay, to go change because they seem like, hey, he's actually going, so we're gonna let him go, right? And plus there's other things that happen. I kind of had mixed feelings about some stuff. Anyways, whatever. So I get here and I remember hitting this camp. Well, first I got to the Angelus Temple, and I had to take I had literally down to $15, maybe $20, right? And I had this taxi guy. I'm seeing this taxi dude, and taxis I'm like, damn expensive just to go from Union Station to Echo Park was $30. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, it's not that far, you know what I mean? And I'm over here I'm complaining because I ain't got much money on me, and I'm still wanting to have a drink or something before I go lock it down for a year, you know what I mean? And so I got my cigarettes on me, and I'm like, all right, just go, whatever, and we go. And next thing you know, I run into Jerry Davis, rest in peace. Yeah, man. Jerry, he told me, all right, well, hey, just go wait up in the ERC up there. So I'm like, I'm smoking my last cigarettes, and I'm like, oh, just let me go have one more cigarette. I'm not ready yet, really, seriously, you're not ready, all this shit you've been through, you did all this, and you're backing out last second. Because when you get to that point, you're like, oh, I'm about to lock it down, it starts getting real, you know what I mean? You're like, right, you're like, oh man, you're like, I'm gonna give up all my freedom of phone, well, I lost my phone already, but but you know what I mean, you're about to and I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh, I was really contemplating it, and then I'm like, dude, just let go and let God, and so I go into the service, and I sit in service, and I'm like, okay, here we go, and I gave him my cigarettes, and then I asked them even then, I'm like, hey, can I just go out and have one more cigarette? And they're like, no, because when you get in, it's like you're locked in, you are not for me even to get in like that was rare, you know what I mean? And so I'm over here tripping on a cigarette, and they're like, okay, well, if you have the cigarette, you're gonna have to wait 45 days. I seriously considered it, not anymore. But yeah. And so, anyways, I get in the car. But they gave at this point they're having us get in vans, and that was amazing. I was like, what? Because last time I was here, you had to walk. You know what I mean? And you couldn't talk, nothing. It was man, this is crazy. And so I'm in there, and there's this bearded guy, and he looked familiar, and I didn't really remember him. And I find out it was Craig. Some of you will know who Craig is, but I'm talking to this guy, and I'm sharing with him, all of a sudden, I don't know what it is when you're coming down with drugs, but you feel the need to tell everybody your life story right there, and so I'm over here, I'm telling them, oh yeah, I'm so grateful to be here, all day, God was with me this whole time, and that part was true, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, he's just all right, glad you're here, Aaron, shut up, and so you go in there, I'm all right, so I get up there, and it was crazy, I'm up there, I'm still kind of paranoid, I'm looking out the window, tripping, and like seeing, like I don't know what it is about that window, man, but like I, lo- I love looking out the window. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So it's crazy things we do. And it's like I don't know. It's like something about it cool. You're like, you're in there. All right, we're good. And then you're like, wait a second, hold on, I thought I heard something. You know what I mean? Like you're really tripping, and like people are like, dude, just calm down, bro. Nobody's coming. And you're like, you don't know that though. I got 6 cents. You know what I mean? Like God was talking to me. I felt it. You know what I mean? Like that. All of a sudden we're super spiritual when we're high, right? Like we know everything is about to happen, right? And it's super crazy. So, anyways, so I get upstairs, and before I get up there, like I remember like 7 foot right here, and if you guys see that cross right there on the building, that's when I knew I was home. You know what I mean? Like, and it sucks because I have to remember this stuff because after being here a while, you start to forget. You know what I mean? You start to get ungrateful, like, and just like coming to CR and stuff. Like I haven't been to CR like honestly in a really long time. Like I've kind of let work life that I'm doing now, like kind of influence and be my excuse of why I'm not doing some things or and also the part because like we were kind of forced to do it for 2 years. You're kind of like, just let me do it on my own for once. You know what I mean? Like, because there's something important about that. There's something important about having the freedom and choice to do something than being told to do it, right? Like, and so that makes it more powerful for you because if you're like when you're going to God, like you're choosing to go to God. You're not choosing. Like you're not being like, oh, this is the time to pray to God, or like this is, like a routine or something. Like you're a robot or something. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm very much against the robot lifestyle. Like, like really against it, right? So, but like I definitely know that like there's times where I see like, hey, I'm growing in different ways, right? Like because I start like longing for like this stuff. I start thinking like, oh man, the worship is nice again, or oh man, it's really nice to be around people that are like-minded, or like you start like to forget like how much we actually need each other, and like just like right now, like I'm remembering that. So thank you all for being here and continuously doing this. If you want to be here or not. so so yeah, so I end up like completing first year, and that was crazy. You know what I mean? Like that was hard. There's something like, okay, remember I said I left Washington, right? Well, they were pissed. Like they were very much pissed off at me, right? And I didn't care. Like I remember telling Daniel Zamora during first year, I was like, don't answer phone calls. I'm like, I'll handle that stuff later. I don't care. Like right now, I'm focusing on me. You know what I mean? Like I want to change. Like that was it. Like, and that's how serious I was about like. I knew if I had to do jail time, cool, I'll do it later. You know what I mean? But right now, I seriously need help. Like, and I came all this way. I'm not going back up there. You know what I mean? And so, like, that was different for me. Like, that was a determination I had that I never had before, right? And so, like, jail, who cares? You know what I mean? Done there. I can do jail sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, it's I get in there. It's real comfy for me when I go to jail. So, I mean, I don't know what anybody's complaining about. You know what I mean? I eat good, work out, hang out with the homies. We're good. You know what I mean? Catch up, like whatever. But at the end of the day, jail sucks. You know what I mean? And I want to wear my own clothes and, like, all that. But anyways, like I was saying, like, just the determination was different. And so I knew like I had a seriousness that I never had before, right? And all those other times, like, this is another big part I need to share with you guys too. Like in that moment, like where I wasn't sure if I was going to live or die or any of that, like on the travels back down here, after the motorcycle incident, getting hit and whatnot, I remember telling God like, hey, like I don't want to die without ever actually trying, right? Because I can look back on my life and I can say, hey, all those other times I went to a program, I didn't go to the program because I wanted to or actually gave a shit to really try. You know what I mean? Like I did it just to please somebody or get somebody off my back. The thought was there of change. The thought was, considering like, okay, it sounded good, it looks good, but like I never gave it my best, fullest ability. You know what I mean? And that's why those results were the way they were, because I wasn't serious, right? And so there's something about when you finally decide, like, hey, I really want to try. Like, don't say, hey, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. Like, don't make it such a big deal. Like, just say, I just want to try. Like, if you really want to try, then you're gonna try. Like, right? You're gonna see what you're made of. You're gonna see how easy life can actually be sober, right? Like, and another thing I noticed too is like, this kind of helped me change was I remember I was on a date with this girl and she had to drink, right, to like be herself. And I remember I used to have to do that to be comfortable. And as I got more sober in my like times of attempts, failed attempts, right? Like I remember like not needing that drink, right? And so like I can be myself finally for the first time without, doing drugs or anything and be comfortable, right? Like that's comfortable. That's comfortable in your own skin. Like that's ultimately the goal. And so like I didn't need that liquid courage no more. I didn't need any of it. And so it was really powerful to see that, and so all those like, failed attempts that you can say like, yeah, they were failures, but honestly, it's what built me up to who I am now, right? Like we can't look back and be like, oh, it was all for nothing, because it wasn't. And each one of those failed attempts, you unlocked a new part of you, right? And now that part is going to help you in the next part when you try again, right? When you get back up, you got to keep pushing. Like you got to remember, oh yeah, don't do that because last time I did that happened, and so I got to stay away from that this time in order to get here if I want to keep going. Like you start remember all the mess ups, and you go, okay, that's why we don't do that, right? And another thing that helps me is like it's like the Bible is clear. Like it says, be sober, be clear-minded, and the enemy walks around you like a roaring lion, right? Like ready to devour you. I forget, is that Peter 5:8 or something? Anyways, like that like helps me also like, hey, the word is also telling me I need to be sober. That's how God originally designed us, right? Is to be sober. So all this other stuff like that we add into our body, it's all like sorcery and witchcraft, and like it's all bad, right? It's from the evil one, and it makes you start thinking you're God. Like there's moments of free, right here, man. Like I thought I was God for a moment. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy. Yeah, that meth, man, that's hell of a drug, huh? But that's the sad truth, right? Of our disease, or whatever you want to call it. Honestly, it was my choice. Like that's what I say. Like it was my choice of that decision making I made. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a disease for me or nothing. Like I chose to do all of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I got hooked to it. Yeah, very much. But for the most part, like wrapping it up now. For the most part, I ended up like doing this program and trying to like, stop thinking differently. Like when I started getting mad or anything, I would like try to say a verse, or like I would work on like, trying to talk to that person I never normally talk to, or like, just things differently than I never done before, like hang out with somebody, or, or just even like just learn to shut up. You know what I mean? Like when you come into a program, like you don't know it all. You know what I mean? Like it's not all about you. Like it is. Don't get me wrong. Like, but it's not all about you. Like you're not here to change the program or the rules or anything. You know what I mean? Like you're here to change yourself. Like that's it. You know what I mean? And so like for me, that was it. Getting out of the spotlight. Stop being the center of attention. You know what I mean? Stop doing all that stuff. Like those were bad habits I had growing up, because I was egotistical. I'm a male, and I had blonde hair, blue eyes, and I thought I'd do what the hell I want. You know what I mean? Like that's how it came down. And so like, anyways, and then like you get like I watched guys come back in the program. They have the entitlement of being here before, and so you're like, all right, yeah, like I'm glad I wasn't like that this time. I was just there. I'm not here to like be like super important to anybody. Like I'm not trying to brown nose over here so I can get this position, or you know what I mean? Like I came here to what? Change. Like that's it. That's all I came here for. I didn't come here to work here. I didn't come here to like, you know what I mean? Like anything. I didn't come here for anything but change. Like that's it. I came here to change, and that's what I'm doing. I'm changing for once in my life. I'm finally changing. I got 26 months clean. That's the first in my life, you know. Um, now like I'm starting to take on more responsibility in third year. I just picked up a second job, right? I'm still doing I want to become a personal trainer and nutritionist, and so I kind of put that on hold a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, work kind of gets in the way, and you kind of start like forgetting your priorities a little bit. But every time I get off work, I remember why I want to do what I want to do. Because nobody, like, I don't know about you guys, but customer service with like people in the food industry is insane. Man, like, oh man, they sometimes like I have to walk away. Like, you know what I mean? It's either I walk away or I don't got a job anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so like that's how it's got to be. And so anyway, so we're blessed to have this program that we have, and like I said, we forget that, you know what I mean? Like, because we're here and we get caught up in it every day. And so then you're like ungrateful sometimes because you got to do a chore, or you're just getting off work, or so and so ain't doing nothing, and you're over here like hating on them because they ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? And like, I'm guilty of it, man. I hate too. You know what I mean? I'm still very much a hater sometimes, and like, but like I'm working on it, right? Like I'm working on it. I swear I don't think I'm better than you. All right, just doing more things now. So, anyways, like there's a lot on my plate these days, and I'm trying to find a balance, right? Because if I don't find a balance between peace and whatnot, like I'm going to relapse eventually, right? And so I look for these little red signs, that I have the triggers and whatnot, and it's kind of weird because this is the first time in my life I haven't like had a sponsor or nothing like that. Like this isn't like a AA program really where I have a sponsor. This is kind of just like get up and do it kind of type of situation and depend on God. And because in those moments, like let's be real, like sometimes that's all you have. It's just like a breather, real quick breath that you take and just say a prayer real quick, and then boom, you're back into the madness, right? And that's something I learned in first year, like before I got in a fight with somebody or anything, or like I would step off and I would pray, because like I started realizing and valuing what I had was important, right? And that's what I started showing me that, hey, I actually do care and love about myself, enough to like stop doing that. Because before I wouldn't care, just like let's fight, let's go, you know what I mean? And luckily one of the brothers, held me back in a situation too. And like, I mean, he like pinned me up against the wall, like literally. And like, it was like, and like, honestly, like if the staff would have known about it, like I would have gotten in trouble. That guy would have gotten in trouble. I could have got kicked out. You know what I mean? Like, because they're pretty strict on that stuff here, And so it was something that was kind of cool. Like we worked on it later, we were able to come to amends with each other and whatnot. And I have a few of those stories, unfortunately, but it is what it is, right? And but for the most part, like I just want to say to encourage you guys, like I'm so happy that you guys are here, that are coming, and I'm sure this is not your first time around getting sober, or maybe it is. You know what I mean? What I wish to leave you guys is just a bit of hope, and just know that, hey, like you are worth it, and you got to value you first before anything. You know what I mean? And God is with you, and ultimately, like it's gonna happen. Like change is gonna happen. You just gotta allow it. You know what I mean? And you gotta let go and not worry about the outside. Don't worry about anything. If you're in a program right now, don't worry about it. Like that stuff is all gonna be the same, and it's gonna get worse. You know what I mean? But right now, your only thing that can change is you. That's it. And you have to get better for you. And so I say thank you.